Welcome back. You're watching our live and continuing coverage of the Prime Minister's big New Year address. What we'll do now, and I want to introduce you to our guest, Shweta Punja, our colleague from Business Today and India Today magazine, is just joining us. Raj Chingappa is here. Javed Ansari with us also is MK Venu. We've got Priyanka Chaturvedi of the Congress. We've got GVL Narasimha Rao from the BJP and Nitin Desai with us as well. So before I go across to our panel, I want to take you through the demonetization report card. So here it is, the 50-day demonetization report card. Some of these figures have been put out by the government and others are data that we've picked up based on how different sectors are performing. This is data that Finance Minister Jaitley put out, saying that direct tax collection is up 14.4%, indirect tax collection is up 26.2%, central excise collection is up 43.3%. But just hold it for a moment as I bring you the customs number, which are up 6%. The one thing that needs to be looked at in this data that Finance Minister Jaitley has put out, that this is data starting the 1st of April till the 30th of November. So a lot of the period for which these numbers look in the green and look very healthy, that period essentially precedes demonetization. That is a fact which cannot be ignored. This is not post-demonetization data. So apart from this, amongst the other things the Finance Minister said was that the Rabi crop sowing for November was up 6.3. Remember, there are a lot of reports about how Rabi sowing was down because farmers didn't have money to buy seeds, to pay laborers. He's saying Rabi crop sowing is up 6.3%. Airline travel is up 14%. This data is now for the month of November. Apart from this, the growth in the agricultural sector is at 6.5%. So these are the positive numbers that have been put out by the government, but there are some negative indices as well. Let's take, for example, the sale of two-wheelers, which is down 5.2%, and this data is for the month of November. Sales of light and medium vehicles down 9.3%, sales of heavy commercial vehicle down 4.2%. Now this could of course rebound, but so far, for the data that's available for the month of November, these sales seem to be down. Now I want to go across to MK Venu and to Nitin Desai. First, to Nitin Desai at the start. You know, of course in November, people didn't have cash and therefore they weren't able to go out and buy two-wheelers, four-wheelers. As more and more cash comes back into the system, do you see these numbers bouncing back, or do you believe that the decline is going to be more deep-rooted?
I think a lot will depend on what is the mood that is generated by the speech today. What I think is a big problem is the consumers are not confident about spending. Consumers have withdrawn from the market. People are being a little more cautious now in terms of how they spend the money. They don't know whether they can get it out of the bank, what the situation would be with regard to cash, etc. So a very important impact would be whether he regenerates the sense of confidence in the minds of consumers.
That's a very important point you've made.
In the minds of producers.
That's a very important point, GVL. The fact is a lot of people now have currency. They're not spending that money because they're not certain of what happens next. So bringing back confidence, telling people that, you know, there aren't more seismic shifts you have to be worried about. Go out and spend your money. The economy will bounce back. The Prime Minister, Nitin Desai, says in this address itself must help bring back confidence. GVL?
Is that question for me,
Rahul? It is for you, GVL. It's your government's job to revive confidence.
No, you see, my own experience. Let me speak from my experience, and I'm sure when I speak, I certainly have the viewers in mind. What I say, I'm sure the viewers will endorse. You see, initially, for the first few days, for the first week or 2 weeks, maybe the common man also had a little problem with non-availability of currency. But every person who has accounted wealth has no reason to postpone purchases, because you don't buy a two-wheeler worth 20,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees. You don't necessarily buy it in cash. But let me tell you, a lot of people who have unaccounted money, who have had no difficulty in spending earlier in the form of currency, have suddenly realized that they could fall, they could be caught, they could fall within the tax net. So certainly people who have unaccounted money, bribe money, black money, they are the people
but it's
who
not
may have
that
made
simple a
those
binary, I'm
purchases,
afraid.
but
MK
not
Venu,
genuine.
the fact is that sentiment is not a tap that you can turn on and off. Sentiment is a human emotion. It takes time to build sentiment. It takes time to lose confidence as well. Do you agree with Nitin Desai that one of the key aspects of the Prime Minister's speech and one of the things he'll be measured against will be his ability to talk up confidence, to make people feel confident to go out and spend?
No, Rahul, I think on the other hand, the sentiment of the people of India today is they have great faith in a leader. They feel the economy is reforming. They feel, you see, this is also the reason why your tax collections will go up. This is why a lot of people will
when
find
you look at those tax numbers, and I think this is very important. One second, GVL. What cannot be ignored and what cannot be brushed under the carpet is that those tax numbers are from the 1st of April till the 30th of November. So a larger period precedes demonetization. So a lot of the jump that you're showing could potentially be before demonetization was announced. It's only after we see numbers post the 8th of November, which we haven't seen yet, Shweta, will we actually know.
Make a point. So this entire thing about numbers looking good,
November
you have to look at the numbers in context.
Absolutely.
If you look at service tax growth numbers, service tax grew by 16% vis-a-vis 60% in the same year in the previous month. So this is the lowest growth we are seeing in tax revenue collections in this entire year, this entire financial year. The numbers that have been reported, the growth has been minimum. So clearly it has hurt the economy, and there is no two ways about it. However, some economists are saying that the pain is not as severe as they were expecting it to be.
That I think is the key point. You have to be living in la-la land to believe that demonetization has had no impact on the economy. The question clearly, MK Venu, is how soon can we bounce back? How soon can confidence come back? Venu?
Yeah. So Rahul, Rahul, in economics, there is something called psychology. Currently what has happened is people are scared to spend, and there is a psychology of hoarding cash. And Rahul, that is why even within the digital consumption section, the point of sale, what you and I, the consumption that we do with debit cards, even that has shown a decline of about 40% in November compared to October. Now, how do you explain that? This is cashless, right? Even in cashless, 51,000 crore was the total transaction through POS in October, and in November it is barely 35,000 crore. Now, we have to, the Prime Minister, the Finance Minister, through the budget, will have to win people's confidence. And Rahul, they will have to genuinely remove restrictions on withdrawals. At the moment, there is a stock that people can withdraw so much, but if you actually go to the bank, you cannot, withdraw the kind of money that even now.
The withdrawal limit has only been increased to 4,500. Some people said that the amount could be increased to 40,000 instead of say 24,000 rupees per month. You've actually gone back to where you started from post demonetization. So clearly there isn't that much currency in the market for the government to say, okay, there'll be no curbs on your cash withdrawal limits.
I think what he's going to talk about tonight is that he would sort of say that there'll be a couple of months more pain on this front, the micro part of
50 days, and 50 days are over.
Well, fair enough. I mean, that's a point that he will again have to answer to the people as to why it has gone beyond the schedule that he had. And he needs to come up with good answers. He did talk about that in the interview. And he said that, look, we really had to chase people. They had so many jugards that they were doing that they had to be two steps ahead.
But Raj, can I ask you this question? Sure. When you, as a military strategist, do a war game, you think not just of what you will do, you also think of what the enemy will do, what the response from the other side will be. So when you're constantly announcing changes, for example, the RBI saying that if you deposit more than 5,000 rupees, two people will ask you where this money is coming from, and 48 hours later you take that notification back. It puts into question how much thought went into these notifications from an institution that's supposed to be as revered as the RBI.
I'm not holding a candle to the Prime Minister on this matter, okay? I think the way he explained it was using those two words, Niti and Raniti.
And he said, tu dal dal mein pat pat.
Exactly, that you have to be two steps ahead. I would gather that it's very difficult. I mean, without sounding apologetic to the Prime Minister, all these points are very good. But the magnitude of the kind of currency that you've removed out of the market, has never been tried before. So there are no parallels that you could come up and say this is going to happen. Second, I think given the kind of innovativeness that the Indian system has,
The Jugaad mechanics.
the Jugaad mechanics and the ability to then convert a lot of that. But I think he then comes back to ensure, to say that look, let's not forget that there is a financial trail now, that I can trace this back and find out.
Priyanka Chaturvedi, do you buy this logic? The fact that the government says, A, we can trace now where the money goes, the money that's coming to the banks, and also if we've had to make constant changes, at last count 62, that's because we're trying to deal with a whole bunch of Jugaad mechanics who are trying to outsmart the system. So we have to be one step ahead of them. The Prime Minister used the phrase, tu dal dal mein paat paat.
So, since WhatsApp forwards are the flavor of the season, I'd just like to mention one WhatsApp forward that I had received which said on November 8th, the Prime Minister of the country wished the country in advance and he wished them a Merry Crisis and a Happy New Year. So that is where we stand today. When the Prime Minister addresses the nation today, he needs to keep in mind that this entire country is on tenterhooks as to when normalcy would return, when will this entire withdrawal limits be withdrawn. What about the black money? How has he managed to handle it? Even if you look at the sector-wise impact and how it's impacted the economy, is something that the Prime Minister needs to address. Yeah, someone was mentioning how the service tax has reduced and it has been at its lowest. So these are a few questions that arise at what has demonetization ended up achieving? Has it ended up leading to a bigger crisis for the country? So these are the things that the Prime Minister needs to address rather than talking about.
You asked the question
nation.
about
what he needs to
black money, and I think Nitin Desai, that's a principal question. People will want to know how much black money have we found. Now they're saying, okay, the focus is digital economy, less cash India, but the principal reason why this was done was to go after black money, and people will want to know through numbers how much black money has the BJP government found.
And who is in charge?
I think here the answer they probably will be given is that we'll have to wait because we'll have to follow the trail of the deposits through and then find out. The one indication one will have is the IDS schemes, the disclosure schemes, and how much is coming in there. I hope he gives us some information on that. My guess is also that, in some ways this was a bit like mortar fire in a war. You're softening up the system of cash transactions. And to be fair, I'm sure the system of cash transactions in things like property and so on was severely disrupted over the past 2 months.
No, and that's a good point, Raj, because in that sense, this is transformational, because I want to put out now these numbers. Just very quickly, let me bring you through numbers about how digital transactions have gone up. Now, one way to look at the negative side of these numbers is that the base is small, therefore they look big. But the fact is, RuPay transactions up 446%. UPI transactions, that's the new app that the government's created, which works across banks, up 1,342%. Mobile wallet transactions up 210%. USSD transactions up 5,135%. So you're essentially seeing a huge jump in digital transactions. This would not have happened, Raj, otherwise. Are you going to say that that's a great thing, or will you counter argue by saying when the base is so small, if no one's using it earlier, suddenly people start using it, then you say it's gone up by 5,000%, it means nothing?
No, I think the Prime Minister also in the interview answered that point. He's under no illusion that this digital transformation will meet the shortage of cash. He thinks that this is going to be a measure for the long run. He believes that this gives the country an opportunity, and as another Nilikani put it, a crisis is too big a thing to waste.
Why waste a crisis?
Why waste a crisis? You can then transform it. But let's also get to another point that was made in it, is that the feeling of, if you look at the latest report of the RBI, they say they've got back, say, 60%, or I don't know what's the exact amount, 40% of the total amount that they had extinguished into the thing. If 15 lakh crores, they've now got back 8 lakh or 7 lakh.
No, they haven't announced. Only on the 12th of December, they put out a number about how much money had come back, after which they haven't said how much money has come back.
How much have they printed and brought back? Right, I'm talking. I think the last confirmed figure is about 6 lakh crores.
6 lakh crores,
and by now they're saying.
But there again, Venu. No, not just that. We don't know how much currency has been printed so far. We don't know how much, how
That's
many
the
of those
data they need to be
currency,
putting out now.
how many of these
No,
printing
I was
presses
just
are
making a
working
larger point. Fair enough. I think all that data, as you rightly put it, and Shweta's also been mentioning, should have been mentioned. It's the RBI's duty. This is not secret. This is, something that the nation needs to know on this. The point that the government was trying to make, from what I could understand from the interview, was that, look, a lot of this 15 lakh crores was actually stashed in cupboards and everything else. Their own estimate is that there are about 3 to 4 lakh crores that was not in circulation because we just kept that money. It was not necessarily black. It was white money. Each of us, say, kept 50,000, 1 lakh for exigencies. That mounted to about 4 or 5 lakh crores. So if they have to bring the total currency back into circulation, they estimate at the time of November 8th that possibly 10 lakh crores was under circulation. So if they got the numbers, which the RBI now says is close to 7 to 8 lakhs, that is why I think they make the prediction that by end of January or mid-February, you would find the cash situation easy.
No, but there, Nitin Desai, we haven't heard from the RBI how much currency are they going to print. If there were 15.5 lakh crore rupees in the economy earlier of these 500 and 1000 rupee notes, how much do they believe need to be reprinted? How much will they not print? They need to really be more upfront about this data, which they're simply not putting out, Mr. Desai.
Yeah, the real test, I think real test of this is, let's say about 6 months from now, let us look at how the balance between currency and other forms of money, like digital payments, bank deposits, etc., changes. Before the demonetization, there was 15 lakh crores out, of which, according to the government, some estimates, some proportion was not being used, but was as a store of value. Now, let's ask ourselves 6 months from now, how much currency is out then? Suppose I find 6 months from now that the new notes also amount to around 13, 14, 15 lakh crores. Then one question one would ask is, what have you achieved? Except changing one set of notes for another. So I think that we should wait. We should wait and see 6 months from now what actually happens when the new currency is.
That is one of the contradictions, GVL, that the BJP has never fully explained. You said the idea is to move away from high value notes and then you bring out a 2000 rupee note. Guru Murthy says this is just a bridge. He said that at some point in time the 2000 rupee note will be done away with, but that's a legitimate question. If the idea is to move away from high value notes, then what's the 2000 rupee note doing?
No, Rahul, because of the gap of this communication on the Skype, so allow me a minute to answer all the questions that you have raised. Importantly, I think it needs to be understood that only about half of the currency that was demonetized was in regular circulation. I think I can give you the breakup, but I don't think you have time. So half of it, which is about 43-45% of the total value of the currency, and out of 86%, that was in regular use. And that much money has already been remonetized into the banks so far in the last 5-6 weeks itself. And that would not have been possible. A remonetization of that scale would not have been possible if you did not have a high denomination 2000 rupee note. Point number one. That's the reason why 2000 had to be brought in. And you had a Congress party and great experts saying it will take 8 months. We have done this in 8 weeks. We put back all the money that was current, that was actually in circulation then. And now how much more will be printed? I don't think the entire quantum will be reprinted. No. Because we certainly...
No, but what's the exact figure? GVL, obviously the entire quantum doesn't need to be printed, but if it was 15.5 lakh crore rupees earlier, what's the exact figure? Why no transparency? Why not put these numbers out? The RBI is putting out press releases on its website. It takes those press releases back. Press releases get put out. Those press releases later get edited. The text gets changed in the press releases. The RBI has really not been living up to the expectations people have from this institution.
No, I think you see, RBI had never been in a position like this. RBI was never really allowed. You had only an RBI headed by someone like Dr. Manmohan Singh, who would never want to change anything in the way RBI or the government functions. So you had a status quoist approach until this government came in, and you therefore cannot compare the manner in which RBI functioned
because the RBI was never in a situation like this, doesn't give them a right to goof up.
So RBI is functioning in accordance with its mandate.
Is it your case, GVL? Because this is an unprecedented situation, so you can repeatedly on a daily basis keep goofing up. Is that your case? Surely you can do better than that, GVL.
No, I think you are comparing it with a status quoist RBI headed by people like Dr. Manmohan Singh, who as a prime minister did not have the courage to open his mouth.
I mean,
what are we even talking about? One second, GVL, what was our question? Our question was that the RBI is putting out press releases, changing them, editing the text. Priyanka Chaturvedi is itching to come in and make a point. Priyanka, go ahead, please. I see Nitin Desai's hand up as well. Let's listen to Priyanka first and then
I
Nitin.
did not want to interrupt.
One at a time. Let's listen to Priyanka first.
When he was talking, firstly, I think Mr. GVL and Rao also gets his data from these WhatsApp forwards that are in circulation thanks to the right-wing groups that we see on WhatsApp. So when he says 50% amount is back in circulation or 100% amount is back in circulation that they have addressed, then why are the withdrawal limits still in place? Why are less than 10% ATMs across the country functioning? Why are the rest of the ATMs not functioning? Why don't we have, if he says status quoist RBI under Dr. Manmohan Singh, I would want to understand, you have a prime minister who came and made some announcement overriding whatever the RBI governor had to say, and you've gone and done that. So why can't you have changes in the RBI? Why should the RBI working as per the status quoist way that we had set in motion, while they have a prime minister who speaks in a language which is totally different from RBI? So this kind of nonsense needs to stop. If you
okay, Nitin Desai, those are good points that Priyanka makes. If all the currency that's required in India is out in the market already, why are there currency curbs still? Why can we withdraw only 4,500 rupees? That's a very good question that Priyanka Chaturvedi asks.
Yeah, that was my question. If Mr. Rao says is correct, and if all the currency which was in circulation is out, then there is absolutely no reason to continue with the curbs. The fact that the curbs continue suggests that more currency is needed to be in circulation. Second, as far as remarks about unnecessary remarks about Dr. Manmohan Singh, let me say that one of the downsides from the perspective of an economist, one of the downsides of this whole exercise has been the way in which the autonomy of the Reserve Bank has been eroded.
Okay, let GVL respond. GVL respond to both Nitin Desai and Priyanka Chaturvedi. If your assertion is correct that all the currency required in the economy is back in circulation, why can I withdraw only 4,500 rupees every day from an ATM?
And that
Rahul,
got to be lucky.
I think you are misquoting me. What I said was 45% of the value of the currency that was demonetized was in regular circulation. It does not mean there was no other money. Lot of other money was.
You just said 5 minutes ago that all the cash that is required is back in circulation. We've been able to ensure that. Priyanka is asking you if that's the case, why can she withdraw only 4,500 rupees?
Because RBI is certainly planning to print more currency. They are already in possession of currency which they are possibly not releasing. This is the impression you get when the finance minister made that statement.
No, if they've printed the currency and not released it, then it's not back in circulation. You're contradicting yourself, GVL. If they've printed the currency and not released it into economy, then the currency is not back in circulation. So I don't know what you're talking about. You're contradicting yourself.
45% is already with the banks.
Yeah, but clearly the amount of money out in the banks and out in the economy is not enough, which is why you have to keep the currency
curbs on. So he's now saying bank is holding on to the money.
I need to take a break. I also want to introduce Sunil Alag. Sunil Alag is joining us on this broadcast. Welcome, Sunil. We're taking a quick break. Then we listen to Sunil about what he has to say about the Prime Minister's big address. Will he play the role of Santa Claus? What goodies are there in that big bag? We'll ask them in Australia celebrating Happy New Year. Now, we don't know how happy this New Year will be for India just yet. A lot will ride on what Prime Minister Narendra Modi says in exactly about half an hour from now. That will be his address to the nation post demonetization. I want to introduce you once again to our guest, starting with the editorial director for publishing, Raj Chingappa. He interviewed the Prime Minister this week. Rajiv Dubey is the managing editor of Business Today magazine. Shweta Punch is my colleague at India Today. She tracks the economy very closely. Also with us on this broadcast is Sunil Alag, founder of SKA Advisors. We've also got Nitin Desai and MK Venu. I want to go across to Sunil Alag, who's just joined us. Mr. Alag, your sense. We're putting out what our desk believes the Prime Minister could say when he starts speaking in about 30 minutes from now. Are you expecting him to play Santa Claus? What goodies do you think he'll bring?
No, I think we are overreacting to what he's going to say. I think this is a great opportunity for him to say what has the government done in the last 1.5 years, and where is India going in the next couple of months. And I don't think he's going to hand out goodies today, because that has to be left to the budget on 1st Feb. So the question will be that he said, okay, in 50 days, everything would return to normalcy, and he would probably say it's going to take maybe another 25, 30 days longer. That's what I think he's going to turn around and say. And every day the situation is improving. And how much more of, look at the objective that he set out. We are never going to be cashless. No country in the world is. There's going to be less cash in the system. People have started using the digital system more and more. He's launching something called Bheem, which is just your Aadhaar card and your thumb impression, and you're able to, transfer money. These are very, very big moves which he is talking about. And what goodies do you want from him? And I heard earlier when all of you all were talking, oh, when are we going to get all our money back? And when can we withdraw much more than 24,000 rupees a week, and 4,500 rupees per day is not enough. Everybody is forgetting that on an average, if you look for the last 1.5 years, the average amount of ATM withdrawal was 3,500 rupees per transaction. Why are you forgetting that? And 24,000 rupees a week means
no, that may be the average.
Close to a lakh
you've been a chief executive. You've dealt with numbers, Sunil. Like, that is a relevant question for the reason that 3.5 may be the average. But people had the right then to withdraw what they pleased, and now people wonder by when will they be able to withdraw the amount of money they need.
So the please. These are, I'm going to draw a line here, because if you're going to go on a hypothetical right, a fundamental right, which we have been hearing for a very long time, it's about time we stop that. Everybody, I've come back from Kanpur and Lucknow, everybody feels the situation is improving. Now this hypothetical right of more than what you were doing, I was withdrawing more than a lakh of rupees, but all of us who are rich enough are using credit cards, we are using checks. The poor people on the road, or the middle income group, when you talk to them, if they're going to get 4,500 rupees a day, they are happy.
Raj Shingappa, has this debate gone polarized along political lines? That those who love Modi, like the BJP, think everything's okay, there's no problem, it's all rara, and those who don't will continue finding faults with it?
While I respect Sunil Alagh immensely, I think this is not going to be an address that is just going to be a New Year kind of address or 1.5 years thing. I think the Prime Minister owes the nation an explanation. He did in November 8 disrupt a Pokhran kind of disruption across the economy. He enunciated clear goals that he wanted to do, which was to get rid of black money, to stop counterfeit, to stop terrorist activities on, being funded through these things. And I think he owes the nation a report on that front. That's the first point. The second point is there has been tremendous amount of pain. Whatever one might say, you can see the queues across the country. People have put up with great resilience on this matter. There has been no violence, and that's through the credit of the government and across to all the people in this country, that they've waited patiently in queues and got their money. So I think today they're saying, all right, you said 50 days, tell us now what's the position.
Rajiv Dubey, what's the position? Looking at the numbers, what realistically can the Prime Minister announce?
Well, I think this is going to be some kind of a pre-poll biggle, if not the poll biggle. So we shouldn't see it as just an address to the nation at the end of the year. There's going to be some kind of pre-poll announcements. I do expect digital transaction charges being capped from the Prime Minister. I do expect, as Raj said, that there's going to be a report to the people exactly what happened. I expect him to continue on the path of attack on corruption by announcing something on the Benami property transactions.
But what can he do? There's already a bill which got operationalized in November. So what more can he do beyond that?
So let me just come to that. I'm just coming to this. I do expect that he will do something to do with the Jantar accounts and the money that has come unexpectedly into Jantar accounts. He has been saying, keep it to yourself. That's yours. He's been saying, in various. So there could be he might say that you pay 30%. The Benami Transactions Act also deals with the money that has come to you without...
let's look at Jantar. What do you think will happen on Jantar?
So let's say, the Benami transactions...
I mean, if you're getting to banks, I think while I agree with you, there's going to be something on Benami, a little tougher thing, because he needs to give a statement that he's going to continue this anti-corruption drive, anti-black money drive. So there will be a strong statement, I think, on land and property and how you're going to curb the kind of money that is being stored on black money and that. But simultaneously, I think he will use this opportunity to do two things. One, he will promote a stimulus in the economy, and that could mean that he might ask the public sector banks to lower interest rate by, cut interest rate by 1%, so that there'll be he's saying there's a lot of money that has come back to the banks, let's now give cheaper credit. And on the second front, I think what he will do is come out with a few SOPs, which is, particularly say to the elder or to women, or to some extent the people that put up all this pain. So I think you will see some sort of I wouldn't call it a dole. He's not really a dole prime minister, but I think he's going to bring some relief.
What do you think will happen on Jantar?
Yes, so Jantar account, what you could do under the Benami Transactions Act, because it deals with both tangible and intangible properties, what you could do is you could say that this money is yours, you pay income tax 30%, 32%, and keep the money to yourself. That's one opportunity that he could allow people who have got suddenly money into their accounts, because that Benami Transactions Act clearly says that that property can be seized by the government. So this is possible. There could be an attack on the gold and jewelry holdings, and there could be announcements to that effect.
No, we saw Arvind Panagriyar speak about the need to bring down customs duty on gold.
Well, I think I think he may not take so many sectors on. I mean, he has to also start stimulating the economy. If he starts attacking, done good. I mean, that he's taken on black money, and there are various forms. So I think what he will do is phase that in some sense. He'll attack land, because apart from what you're saying, I think what he will try and do is make it much stricter. Currently, what is the real thing in terms of black money and land is that if I have a property and I'm a black money holder, I'd get someone else to invest. I mean, I'll invest it in someone else's name and get the general power of attorney and say that's, at any time I can reclaim it. What he would then do is make it absolutely strict, that whoever is the owner of it will have to pay the tax on this, and then that's where everybody will start.
So Nitin Desai, I want to tell our viewers what Arvind Panagriyar, the vice chairman of the Niti Aayog, told me when I interviewed him. He said, we will work towards, and we are working towards reducing stamp duty on land. So on real estate, bring down stamp duty. He said, make income tax procedures simpler, lower tax rates, just make it more lucrative to be in the tax loop than to be outside. He also said, bring down customs duty on gold. Do you see any of this happen in this budget, or do you think this will happen? Do you see this happen in this speech, or do you think it will happen in the budget? If at all it's to happen.
Rahul,
the first one, the stamp duty thing is not within the control of the central government. It is set by the state governments, and it can at best be a recommendation from the center, perhaps starting with the centrally administered areas. Let me just say this, that in many ways you have to start going to the root of the problem. In the case of land and property, part of the problem is a completely irrational state of the land market in India. And in many ways, part of the culprit is our government entities, the urban development authorities. We need to look at the whole complex, but I do hope they do something there. But one more important, the root of black money in the system is the way in which our politics is financed. I hope the Prime Minister says something on this, maybe an announcement that his party will only accept contributions by check or to formal means. So I'd say
that would be a game changer. That would be a political earthquake, Shweta. Nitin Desai has said something very significant. Let the Prime Minister declare, henceforth BJP will only take donations in cash. If he were to say it, he just puts himself at a pedestal where no one can come close.
That would be a game changer, and I think that's what he really needs to hit out at. However, having said that, I think this speech is going to be high on rhetoric. He's going to thank everyone. He's going to make all of us feel very good that we've been patient and we've waited in queues very patiently. And in terms of concrete stimulus measures, I think if he does announce those measures right now, it'll be conceding that demonetization failed, or that the economy has taken a huge hit for the government to take notice and for the government to really come out with measures which will boost the economy. So I think it's like a double-edged sword, For one, you recognize that there has been pain, but if you do announce
too much
to soften it, then you're conceding defeat.
Sunil Alag wants to come in. Would this be something that the Prime Minister should be thinking about, Sunil? Announcing that the BJP shall henceforth take donations only through the digital economy. He said, the Prime Minister said, Bhikhari bhi ab le raha hai cash card se payment. So okay, if the beggars are doing it, so should our netas, and let the BJP take the lead.
Yeah, you know, like I want to make one thing clear. The way this debate and this discussion is going, as if this is a budget speech, it is not going to be a budget speech at all. And I agree with the lady who just finished saying he's first going to thank everybody for the pain, and then he's going to say, look, please bear with me for another 30 days or so, because every day the thing is improving. And then he will talk about the digital economy and the digital space that we are moving into. He will talk about the fact that we are getting into being a less corrupt society. And he will announce just a few he knows what he'll say. Wait till the 1st of Feb. He has to give industry a fillip. He has to do things like this to move it up. Otherwise, the nation is going to go into a recession. But he's not going to declare the moves right now. He's not going to say, oh, this is the SOP I'm going to give you. This is what I'm going to do. That will be utter chaos, and then there's no need of the budget on 1st Feb. That's the only point that I was making to Mr. Chingappa also earlier.
Anecdotal evidence that we are going with. If you see the Rabi crop sowing, it's actually up by 4 or 5%.
6.5%.
Yeah,
6.5%. So that was a big fear, which has not really translated into anything concrete on ground.
Okay,
so
MK Venu, Shweta Poonj and Sunil Alak both arguing that so far there isn't enough data to suggest that things have really dipped, or that the decline is permanent. It could bounce back really quickly, Venu.
Rahul, the consensus amongst both economists as well as financial market players who put their money where their mouth is, they all suggest that at least 6 months, it will take 6 months for some kind of recovery, and consumer confidence and investment confidence, more important. Investment, Rahul, private investment was already down even before demonetization. Now, how long will businesses take to decide to invest, and how much will they postpone the decision is all up in the air. Therefore, Rahul, what I am suggesting is the Prime Minister and this government today is very weak on the economy, on the way economy is going. They don't have numbers, they don't have a really strong, they don't have data to suggest that things are improving or will improve very soon. So therefore, I think the Prime Minister will essentially, in today's speech, will make a moral appeal to the people. I think the BJP realizes that it's the moral appeal which, to some extent, which seems to have worked. If at all.
Can I also say something, because you got a lot of people dealing with the business and finance side of this on the panel. One of the key considerations from the BJP's perspective really is the fact that in 4 days from now elections will be announced. On 3rd or the 4th of January, elections for Uttar Pradesh will be announced. They know Punjab is a lost cause. They hope to win Goa and Uttarakhand, but their life virtually politically depends on Uttar Pradesh. A victory in Uttar Pradesh puts them in a very strong position for 2019. A defeat in Uttar Pradesh upsets all their calculations and things could change. The opposition could start uniting ahead of 2019. So really, one of the key messages Rachingappa he will be sending out will be to the people of Uttar Pradesh in a bit to make them feel as if demonetization has been worth their while.
Absolutely. I think there will be some kind of announcement. It is certainly not going to be of budgetary proportions. I think he's very well aware of that he wouldn't want to get the criticism that he had utilized such a massive move, which is, in many senses equivalent to the reforms process 1991. You could compare big events like this happening to then reduce it to an election in Uttar Pradesh. So what I think he will do is he will be circumspect when he makes the big announcements. He will leave that for the budget. He wouldn't want criticism to come to him saying that you're now again bypassing parliament, because he's had a storm recently in the last session. So what he would do is he would, apart from making a report to the nation as to where it all stands, the numbers that Shweta wants, he will certainly announce something for the weaker sections, the downtrodden.
No, and what's at play really is an attempt to transform the image of the BJP from a Banya traders party to a party of the Aam Aadmi, the poor.
That exactly is the constituency that he's looking at, because what he's doing is he's expanding the base. He's now taking the planks, appropriating the planks that both Kejriwal as well as the Congress had. The Congress had they were for the poor, the Garib Hatao kind of slogan that Indira Gandhi had in the thing. Kejriwal was seen as the epitome of anti-corruption.
And in that
he's taking both.
One of the concerns of all the SOPs coming in the budget is that it might run foul of the model code of conduct when the elections are announced, because you are launching elections on the 4th of January. The budget is on 1st of February. It's a month from then. So there is this concern that is emerging, whether he is likely to announce some of the bigger SOPs
I
right
also
now, or
think
maybe in the
that-
Lucknow poll, this thing, and maybe the nitty-gritties of that in the budget.
Rajiv, can I just add to that? I also think that this government has taken a very measured approach towards the budget. So earlier there was a lot of hype surrounding the budget. A lot of measures would be announced in the budget speech. But this government has made many announcements which have been outside the budget
I've just heard
speech.
from ANI that the Prime Minister's address has been recorded and that from 7:30 p.m. onwards they will start playing it out. So we have only about
So more than us,
12
I think it's the
12 minutes
businessmen
to
who are
go.
really waiting to hear
Everyone's
from him.
waiting, I just put out this post from some of the fancy pubs in the capital. They've set up these big screens and you can watch the Prime Minister's address, listen to what he's saying.
I'm sure we have a great sense of humor in this country, so there'll be a Modi rock beat and there'll be a Modi
There is. Actually, I got a really fun one on WhatsApp.
I have it
What
too.
does it say?
No, it has the Modi alcohol menus. They've got Modi cocktails and stuff, all kinds. I don't know whether they like it. The only thing that I'm drinking right now is cough syrup. Such
We'll
is-
all probably
such
have
is
that
life.
bit.
Only cough syrup. Well, we're taking a quick break. We'll be back a lot before the Prime Minister actually starts speaking to build up, and then we'll sit back and listen in to what the Prime Minister has to say. Make no mistake, I can sense for the past 1.5 hours, all BJP spokespeople have been trying very hard to lower expectations, to make it seem as if it's not a big deal. The Prime Minister has been working very hard to ensure that people feel it was indeed a big deal. Now, whether it is or not, we'll find out soon enough. We're returning on the other side.